Welcome to Southern Sense Talk on Rumble. You are going to love Annie the Radio Chickadee Ubelis and her co-host, C.S. Bennett. You'll find them live here on Fridays from 2:30 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Date Time. Check out their website at Southern Sense, as in commonsense.net. It's that easy, southernsense.net. So sit back and relax. They're informative, fun, irreverent, and politically incorrect. You never know where they'll go, but you'll love the journey.
All right, and welcome to another adventure here on Southern Sense. I'm Annie Ubelis, the hostess with the least mostest, the Radio Chickadee. I am right now solo as of today. This is being pre-recorded for anyone that's interested. I'm having a procedure on my back tomorrow, so I doubt I'll be able to do a live show. So I am doing this ahead of time, so you guys do not miss a thing that's going on out there. Excuse me. I'm telling you, things are going crazy, crazy, crazy. We have something going on with the media. Trump decided to take a couple of days to go golfing, and everyone thought he died. The mass media was saying Trump was dead. Trump is very much alive and is out there and just making fun of the media and showing them how much fools they are. You know, here you got brain dead Biden, and Trump decides, because he's going nonstop 24/7, he's just going to take a couple of days. And hey, he can have that. He's afforded that. So Trump is alive and well. And there's another incident that just happened during this week. Rudy Giuliani has been doing a lot of appearances up in the state of New Hampshire. And the other day, he was flagged down. He was being driven by another guy. I don't know if it was a limo, taxi, or whatever it was. And the woman flagged the car down, not even knowing it's Rudy Giuliani. And he gets out to help her, calls the police, gets a domestic violence case. She's in good hands. And they're going to take off, and they get onto the highway, and lo and behold, they get rear-ended. And Rudy Giuliani gets injured on his left side. Matter of fact, I'm going to be missing it, but he's going to be on Greg Kelly tonight. He was released from the hospital yesterday. He's a little bumped and bruised, and there's some questions whether or not his back had been fractured or not. Hey, the man's 81. He's still spry and still helping people out. So our prayers go to the Giuliani family, and glad that he is okay. Just very, very glad about that. I got a bunch of stories I want to go over with you today. I've got some recordings. I've put in some clips to bring us along with this. We want to talk about the college swattings that are going on. I mean, these past 2 weeks have been college openings of the college campuses, the universities and college. And kids that have never been away from home before are finally going away. They're away from mom and dad, and they're ending up in some of these universities that are being swatted. And it's a scary thing. It's a scary thing for the parents. It's a scary thing for the kids. And these have all been proven to be hoaxes. Now, the story I have is as of August 31st. And since then, I understand there have been several more. We're going to get into that story about that. Nigel Farage is back in the news. He was before Congress just today, I believe it was, talking about the lack of free speech in the United Kingdom. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. The UK, the home of free speech, it gave us the Magna Carta. It gave us Parliament. It led us to formulating our Declaration of Independence and our freedom, because we wanted those freedoms that we had under English common law and the Magna Carta. So we're going to be talking about that also. There was a Irish comedian who posted something while he was here in the United States on his Facebook page. And no sooner did he land in the UK, he was arrested because he violated speech. They said he threatened people. Absolutely, really strange. And today, we're doing this recording on Wednesday, was the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II for North Korea, China, and Russia. And they had a joint ceremony in Beijing. And oh boy, did the lid come off on that one big time. And we've got a lot to talk about on that. And we have a lot to say. And I wish my chat room was open for you guys so I can have some feedback, which I always love having to do. But I hope you enjoy this recording. And I should be at home convalescing on Friday. So I will get up onto the social networks and follow those that you are listening. And I will respond if I'm able to into the chat rooms onto Facebook, YouTube, X, and everywhere else. So just bear with us, and we're going to have a little fun here today. That said, those that watch our show know that we start off each and every show with the dedication to a fallen hero. And today's dedication is going out to Sergeant Joseph Anthony Azcona of the Newark Police Department in Newark, New Jersey. His end of watch was Saturday, March 8th of this year. Sergeant Joseph Azcona was shot and killed while investigating illegal weapon possessions at the corner of Carteret Street and Broadway in Newark. At 6:37 p.m., Sergeant Azcona and another officer arrived at the intersection of Carteret Street and Broadway to question a subject about possible weapons possession. The subject began firing on the officers immediately, and both officers were struck while still in their vehicle. At least 18 shots were reported near the White Castle at the intersection. When responding officers arrived, they discovered Detective Azcona and the other officer both wounded. Both officers were transported to the University Hospital, where Sergeant Azcona was succumbed to his wounds at 2:30 a.m. The other officer was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. 5 juveniles were taken into custody. A 14-year-old boy who was injured was charged with weapons possession and murder. Sergeant Azcona had served with the Newark Police Division for 5 years, the last 2 as a detective. He was survived by his mother, father, and 5 siblings. Sergeant Azcona was posthumously promoted to sergeant. And here is his dedication from CBS News.
And now to the other big story we are following tonight in Newark. An officer hit during a shootout continues to fight for his life in the hospital. This as a family and police department mourn an officer shot and killed in the line of duty.
Detective Joseph Azcona, a 5-year veteran of the Newark Police Department, was just 26 years old. His alleged killer, a 14-year-old who now faces murder and attempted murder charges.
Eyewitness News reporter Anthony Carlo has more from Newark.
It's the worst call any law enforcement family can receive. As one officer recovers here at University Hospital, the family of the other plans a funeral. Members of law enforcement came from all over New Jersey to salute the hearse carrying the body of a Newark detective, just 26 years old.
5-year veteran Officer Joseph Azcona was shot before he even had the opportunity to leave his police car.
It was a wild shootout between police and an armed 14-year-old boy Friday evening. The barrage of bullets shattering school windows and sending kids running down Broadway. Detective Azcona was working with the feds to rid the streets of illegal guns.
I don't know many people that would have went to that scene, knowing that danger lived there.
Detective Azcona and another officer were rushed to the hospital after being shot. Police immediately gathered there, hoping for the best. But at 2:34 a.m., the detective was pronounced deceased.
His mother and his father and approximately 5 brothers were at the hospital mourning him, grieving him.
On the upswing of his career, the 26-year-old made detective just 2 years ago and was assigned to the intelligence unit, the governor calling him and his fellow officer heroes.
Those 2 guys when they went to work yesterday morning, they didn't expect that it was going to end the way it did.
A 14-year-old boy is now charged with Detective Azcona's murder. An automatic firearm believed to be the murder weapon was recovered at the scene.
We need to focus laser sharp on trying to find the reason why this 14-year-old was in the situation that he was. Had a gun, felt he could use it against the police.
Both the surviving officer and the suspect are expected to recover. 5 people are in custody. In Newark, Anthony Carlo, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
The final farewell for Newark Police Sergeant Joseph Azcona, who was shot and killed in the line of duty last Friday. Video from Chopper 2 around 10 o'clock this morning shows the large crowd of officers from around the state gathered to say goodbye to the fallen hero. Azcona was posthumously promoted at the service. Christine Sloan covers New Jersey and has more from the Cathedral Basilica of the Sacred Heart in Newark.
Cindy, it has been an emotional morning here in Newark. Detective Joseph Azcona was just 26 years old when he was shot and killed in the line of duty. Right now, the governor, his family, lawmakers, and so many others are here at the Cathedral Basilica paying their respects. Detective Joseph Azcona's flag-draped casket carried into the Cathedral Basilica of the Sacred Heart as family, friends, Newark officers, and other law enforcement from around the state gathered to honor the fallen hero. A poignant moment when the detective's hat was taken in.
To lose an officer like this so young at the start of his career, the valor that he showed, and the other officers went that night when a 14-year-old has an automatic weapon that can shoot those kind of rounds. This is, I think, shattered our community.
Earlier in the morning, a private prayer at St. Lucy's Church, where fellow officers marched the young detective's casket to the Cathedral Basilica. Newark's cardinal and those close to Detective Azcona describing a young officer raised in Newark who rose through the ranks to become a decorated officer.
We don't flee from pain. Joseph didn't do that. As a police officer, he came face to face. He touched wounds. He saw the suffering that people can inflict on each other.
Detective Azcona posthumously promoted to sergeant. The mayor of Newark calling him a superhero who made a deliberate effort to save the lives of others. A 14-year-old, as we've been telling you, has been charged with his murder as well as the attempted murder of another officer. We're live in Newark. Christine Sloan, CBS News, New York.
Let it be said, when we finished this race, we kept them free, we led with grace. Let it be seen, from sea to shining sea, beautiful America, living our legacy. Oh, Father, Mother, Sister, Brother, oh, we gotta learn to love each other. Oh, for the soul of the nation, for the next generation. Let us be known as people of honor, humble and bold, faithful through fire. Let us hold firm to our convictions with wide open hearts. our time has come. We gave them hope. We made them strong. Let it be said, when we finish this race, we kept them free, yeah. We led with grace. Oh, father, mother, sister, brother. Oh, we gotta learn to love each other. Oh, for the soul of the nation. For the next generation. Let it be said. Oh, father, mother, sister, brother. Oh, we gotta learn to love each other. Oh, for the soul of the nation. For the next generation.
All right, and we're back, and you're watching Southern Sense live on, well, not live, just today's was recorded, I apologize, but on Facebook, YouTube, X, Rumble, Substack, iTunes, and, oh, God, half a dozen other places. Just go to our show, southernsense.net, and check us out. As before the dedication, I was mentioning swatting, and, you know, we came across this with Trump's first term in office, were people that were conservative. They'd be going, we even saw it with the commentators. Someone would call anonymously into law enforcement saying, oh, someone's got a gun, someone's going to kill someone. They make a false report. And that is a crime. To make a false report to a law enforcement agency is a crime. And this is what has been going on. And it would hit a lot of notable people. I know Roger Stone had been swatted. There was a bunch of others I know that had been swatted. But this is going to a new level. And what they're doing is they're swatting the colleges and universities during their open week, the week that students first get onto campus, get their orientation, get accustomed to where they're going, get their dorms, meet new friends, meet up with old friends, parents giving their kids a hug as they go away to college and won't see them until the holidays. It's a strenuous and stressful time. But to throw swatting in on top of this, and you don't know where the shooter is, you're just told that the campus is on lockdown. They could be on the other side of the door, the other side of the wall. And this has really gotten out of hand. Let me play this clip from another news agency. Here we go.
As a new school year gets underway for many college students, there's been a trend of swatting incidents and hoaxes at campuses across the country. According to the Homeland Security Department, swatting refers to the malicious act of making false calls to emergency services to report an incident with the goal of prompting a large-scale law enforcement response. At least 11 universities nationwide have been the target of active shooter hoaxes in just the last week. That includes incidents today at West Virginia University and the University of Kentucky. And CBS News Homeland Security correspondent Nicole Skanga joins me now. Nicole, good to see you. What's behind this sudden spike of swatting incidents on college campuses?
Yeah, a scary nationwide trend and map, quite frankly. Since last week, there have been swatting incidents, false reports of on-campus shootings, spurring these massive law enforcement responses in some cases at least 11 universities nationwide. All of this coinciding, by the way, with move-in days, first week of classes. Now, authorities have not yet determined a motivation or whether or not some of these hoax threats are coordinated, but at least two of them, both on the campus of Villanova University, are under investigation investigation by the FBI. And as you mentioned, the latest happened just today at University of Kentucky and West Virginia University. But this criminal trend is really more than just a series of prank calls. It drains law enforcement resources, it costs thousands of dollars, and it puts innocent people at risk, according to law enforcement officials.
Yeah, I mean, this is a terrifying trend and one that has had deadly consequences in the past. So what is law enforcement, including the FBI, doing to prevent and deter these types of incidents?
We've seen law enforcement take steps to establish information sharing and really try to wrap their arms around this problem. So back in 2023, the FBI even set up a center to track these kinds of swatting incidents. And since then, they say that hundreds of law enforcement agencies have reported thousands of hoax calls. We know the FBI also sets up swatting registries to flag high-risk addresses. And some emergency dispatchers are now training to recognize phony or coordinated hoax calls. And of course, public information campaigns also offer potential targets advice on limiting information available to possible swatters online. Experts do argue, though, that artificial intelligence has accelerated this problem. Technology now allows criminals to more easily spoof phone numbers and IP addresses, so an added challenge for law enforcement.
So you're talking about public awareness, you're talking about enhanced training, but what about the individuals who have been caught with swatting? What consequences have they faced and could they face?
Yeah, we're seeing more consequences here. In May, a Wisconsin man was sentenced to nearly 4 years in prison after federal authorities say he participated in a one-week swatting spree. And back in February, a California teen was also put behind bars for 2 years after making over 375 of these fake and threatening calls. Now, under federal law, punishment for swatting can include years or even life in prison, depending on the harm that it's done. And in states like California, anyone convicted of swatting is also required to pay back agencies who respond to the scene up to $10,000.
Nicole Skanga reporting for us from Washington on this disturbing trend. Nicole, we know you'll stay on top of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that was from the Daily Report, courtesy of CBS News. Thank you to them. I pulled up also an article from Fox News, and they listed the universities that were hit, and there was a surprising trend. These all had said that the shooter was at a library on campus. That seemed to be their favorite place to do this, coordinated attack. And it does seem to be coordinated. On Monday before the 31st alone, at least 6 universities were hit at approximately the same time. There is someone behind this, whether they're using artificial intelligence or there is another organization that it may be out there. I do a show called Moms Across America, which we record on Wednesdays through Dan Perkins Media, and we discuss this very issue. The coordination of campus police with local and state authorities. But now the FBI is now stepping in because this has become so widespread and it's affecting so many people. And the question is there another malicious intent behind it? Are they looking to see what our response times are and maybe do a coordinated terrorist attack? We may take one of these phone calls as being a swatting and not pay as much attention to it, and maybe it might be the real thing. And that's the problem with swatting. You never know if it's the real thing or if it's phony. Only the swatter knows. And with the ability of artificial intelligence to mimic phone numbers and make it look like the call is being made from somewhere else, it adds another level of danger to what's going on. Just for an example of some of the places that have been hit, you have the University of Texas at San Antonio, where the dorms were evacuated after threats were deemed. They were deemed later to be unfounded. They had provided an update after being the victim of 2 swatting instances. Most cases, they happened on the second day of class at the University of Texas in San Antonio. Villanova, students barricaded after fake gunfire calls. Near Philadelphia, students were alerted around 4:30 p.m. about a possible shooter on campus, and they ordered the students to stay in place, barricade walls, doors, and await further instructions. And the social media just filled up with images of these kids just scrambling for safety. The University of Tennessee in Chattanooga. It was on Welcome Week. It was cut short by the hoax lockdown. They say there that the investigation is still underway. The University of Arkansas, 300 plus calls flooded 911 in a library swatting incident. The students were first alerted to a possible active shooter near the library via the university's RAS alert emergency system. A lot of these universities now have their own emergency alert system. So if your kids are going to school, to college, away, make sure they sign up for that, please. The Kansas State University, the first day of classes were interrupted, and the hoax was covered around Hale Library. We have Iowa State University, multiple calls, but no credible threat. One state over, the Iowa State University was targeted by another swatting hoax. Here, the University of South Carolina, the shooter turned out to be a man with an umbrella. And a lot of these hoaxes, they just say it's a male shooter, no description, no clothing description. They're not saying black, white, Hispanic, orange, purple, green, yellow. They're just saying a man. The University of Colorado in Boulder was a 3-hour disruption at the Norland Library. The University of New Hampshire, again, the library was targeted in a swatting call. And then finally, on this sheet that they have, they list 10 of them, Northern Arizona University. And here the FBI stepped in, and I'm glad to see that Kash Patel and his people are on top of this. We hope to get to the bottom of it and find out what is going on. So my prayers are going out to the families who have kids that are going away to school, and those kids that are in school. Hopefully we'll get to the bottom of this and get to it very, very fast. In other news, I spoke about Nigel Farage and free speech, and he did appear before Congress. And here he is with Jim Jordan on another clip we have.
Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent.
You see request from Jim Calford?
Yes, I ask unanimous consent that the Politico ad or news that was dated June 27, 2025, saying Gavin Newsom sues for $787 million be placed in the record.
Without objection. Mr. Price, has anything in the Digital Services Act changed in the last year?
No, sir.
Hasn't been amended, hasn't been changed at all?
No, sir.
So everything Mr. Breton wrote 1 year ago today, well, August 12, 2024, that's still in place, where he said to an American running an American company about an interview that was yet to happen, future interview, threatened this individual. None of that nothing in the law has changed that would change what actions this individual took.
Nothing in the law.
Just because Mr. Breton's gone doesn't mean Ms. Verkunen can't do the same darn thing, right?
Precisely.
Yeah, and that's the concern. Mr. Price, is this statement, we need to take back our country, is that statement hate speech?
We don't really know what hate speech is. It's so vague, and that's the problem with it. I wouldn't regard that as hate speech.
Well, you may not, but the EU regulators do, because they had a workshop on May 25th where, this is part of our investigation, material we'd subpoenaed, they gave us this information, and they said it is hate speech. That's a concern, right?
Yes, sir.
And it could be made by an American and be termed hate speech, and there could be some ramifications for Americans' First Amendment liberties. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Price, what's a trusted flagger?
A trusted flagger is an NGO or a private organization that's recognized under the DSA, and if they identify or a complaint has been made...
Wait. Recognized by who?
Oh, the terms of the DSA. Oh, and the national regulators and the commission as well.
Okay, and they do what? So they're recognized by the government. They're approved by the government.
Yes,
all right? And what do they do?
If they identify content that they regard as illegal content, the companies have to give priority to removing that content.
Oh, so people that the government approves tell companies what they can allow on their platform and what they can't, right?
That's correct, sir.
And the same people who approved these folks are the same people who conducted the workshop and said, we need to take back our country as hate speech. Is that fair to say?
That's correct, sir.
Yeah, and that's the concern. And what happens if these trusted flaggers approved by the government, the same government that says we need to take back our country as hate speech? By the way, I think that statement is made probably more by Democrats right now than Republicans. I think the head of the Democrat National Committee made that statement like 3 months ago at a big Democrat rally or something they were having. So the same people say that's hate speech approve the trusted flaggers, who then tell the platforms what they can and can't have on their platform. And if they don't agree with what the trusted flaggers say, there's civil penalties. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Both under national law and the DSA, investigations begin, and there's a whole process that can result in enforcement and then ultimately crippling fines for companies.
And those crippling fines, those civil penalties can be what? 5%, 10% of global revenue, depending on the Online Services Act or the DSA?
Under the DSA, 6%.
6%? Wow, that's a lot of money because these are big companies, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Farage, it's not just civil penalties, though. And this is where it gets really scary. Because my understanding is there's criminal penalties, and I think in 2023 in the United Kingdom, there were 12,183 arrests for offensive posts. 12,000 people arrested for things they posted online that some trusted flagger approved by the government, the same government that says what's being said at the Democrat National Committee, we need to take back our country, is hate speech. That's a scary scenario. Is that right?
Yeah, they're massive statistics, and I mean, some of it comes under non-crime hate incidents. So you've said something on social media, someone's taken objection, and you get the knock at the door from the police sort of warning you that if you do this again, something may happen. And this has now been broadened out. I mean, Mr. Price made the point, what is hate speech? How do you define hate speech? And that's the problem, isn't it, with all of these laws? Yep. That we finish up in a position where local police forces, etc., have to choose their own interpretations. I think, again, as I said to you earlier, the timing of this hearing today is perfect because the head of the Metropolitan Police, who arrested Graham Linehan at Heathrow Airport, he's thrown the ball back now to the British Home Secretary and the government to say, please tell us, what is this law intended? What are we supposed as the police to do? So I think we're going to have a much more rapid debate about this. But my worry is it may get worse, if I may quickly. Because the Labour government now are intending to pass a law that has a definition of Islamophobia. They're intending to put that into law. And that effectively will mean that criticism of a religion, mocking of a religion, would become an offence. And that's totally against everything. Because we've always given the Pope a hard time. We've always given the Archbishop of Canterbury a hard time. So we're finishing up kind of with two-tier law and two-tier justice.
Well, speaking,
and that's very concerning.
One other question I'd like to get for maybe you and Mr. Price, if I could. Speaking of religion, tell me what performative prayer is. This is something we've seen and we've discovered in our investigative work. Maybe we'll start with Mr. Price, then go to Mr. Farage.
Yes, sir. We have a client at the moment who's been prosecuted or was arrested in Bristol for a Christian pastor preaching about the differences between Christianity and Islam. He was then assaulted by a group of people identifying as Islamic people. The police arrived and they arrested him, not the people who assaulted him. This is the state of play in the United Kingdom in terms of free speech. And unfortunately, across Europe, I mean, I have a whole file of cases here where people have been arrested for criticisms of Islam, where they've been prosecuted. So things are getting pretty bad.
Yeah, that extends to abortion clinics, doesn't it? And the abortion debate in Britain and Europe is different to the abortion debate in America. It's in a different place. Mm-hmm. But we have seen people warned or arrested if they've been seen to be praying outside abortion clinics, even if they're doing it silently. Hence, it's performative in the sense they're doing that. And you know, I'm afraid you now have to be a certain distance away from one of these clinics. But if other members of the public object and say that your praying there is causing them psychological harm, well, the police may intervene.
Thank you.
Chairman, may I?
All right. I don't want to continue any further. Just so that the audience understands, they were talking about DSA, the Digital Signal Act, was put in place by the European Union and the UK, and they enforce it. The UK seems to be enforcing it rather strenuously. And the law is so vague. It can be anything. If you just turn around and say, I don't like gays, that could be taken as, you know, an hate act. And people can be arrested for something as simple as that. There was a woman in the UK, and there was a protest. It looked like a large group of Muslims, and she was waving the flag of her country. And she was arrested because they felt it was hate speech in the face of the Muslims. There is a huge change in society within the Europe and the British Isles with this massive influx of immigration that they have from the Middle East and from Africa. And now in Britain, the most favorite name for young boys being born is Mohammed. Now, Europe was known as mainly Christian, Roman Catholic, Protestant, whatever, also Jewish, but it was a Judeo-Christian society. And now with this new influx of immigrants, they have turned society upside down. So anyone that is now speaking out against them is now a danger and they must be dealt with. If you're on any side of an issue, if someone feels that they are hurt, all they need to make is a complaint and say, well, I don't like what this person posted up on the internet or what they wrote on the posting board. It hurts my feelings, so go arrest them. And it's basically, that is how bad it has dipped into Europe and the UK. There's a perfect example. Let me play this clip of the comedian that he was addressing, Graham Liam, and his explanation of his arrest. Here we go.
Comedian Graham Linehan was arrested at Heathrow Airport in the UK over past social media posts he made on transgender issues. The 57-year-old said that 5 armed officers arrested him after he flew into the UK from Arizona. In a statement, police said the man in his 50s was arrested on suspicion of inciting violence. This is in relation to posts on X. After being taken to police custody, officers became concerned for his health, and he was taken to hospital. Linehan responded to the arrest saying, I was arrested at an airport like a terrorist, locked in a cell like a criminal, taken to the hospital because the stress nearly killed me, and banned from speaking online, all because I made jokes that upset some psychotic cross-dressers. To me, this proves one thing beyond doubt. The UK has become a country that is hostile to freedom of speech. Critics calling out the arrest. Piers Morgan posting, what's happened to Linehan today is absolutely ridiculous. 5 armed cops arresting him at Heathrow for tweets mocking the scandal of biological men invading women's spaces. When it comes to free speech, Britain's turning into North Korea. End quote. Is Piers Morgan right here?
The situation in the UK is extremely bad for anyone who cares about freedom of speech or freedom of religion. And it's actually a problem for the rest of the country as well, because social media companies develop policies to fit with the architecture of UK, and so then it also makes it harder for people to speak freely in the United States and other countries. If you cannot speak freely about radical trans ideology or other issues like that, you are not free. You have to be able to be free to say men cannot actually become women, or only a man and a woman can make a baby biologically. When you can't acknowledge just reality, you're not a free people at all, and this is a huge of many wake-up call for the UK and about the threat they are posing to freedom of speech globally.
Yeah, and obviously speech is different than violence. You know, this guy, did he have a hand grenade in his bag? No. Was he traveling with a bunch of knives and weapons? Is that why they arrested him? Because, you know, clearly that's what you would do if someone appears to be violent.
Absolutely not. And, you know, if you think back to Vice President Vance went to the Munich Security Conference back in February and spoke exactly about this sort of thing, warning the EU and the UK as well that this is not going to be tolerated. And to your point, Kennedy, like his tweet is you know, if a, cross-dress person's in a women's bathroom and you're a woman and you feel threatened, kick them in the private parts, call somebody, yell and run. That's not inciting violence, but yet the lack of any respect for expression like that, free speech, and an issue, as you point out, Molly, is a big one right now. And here in the UK, they're going to crack down. The guy tweeted 3 tweets, and he's taken down Heathrow, like he says, like a terrorist. I think this is going to be a case that's going to be a big boiling issue for the UK. And it'll be interesting to see if Vice President Vance picks up and does anything with it, because I think this is what he was really warning against when he made that speech in Munich.
Yeah, and it's interesting because free speech has now become the cause of the right.
All right. Well, it cut short, unfortunately. But here's one of the things they in the original testimony going to the Congress, they mentioned a company, an American-based company that is doing business worldwide, especially in Europe. And what they did was they turned around and says, well, because you're doing business worldwide, what you put out there now falls underneath this law, and we can now prosecute you for it. Now, is that right? This is a company, an American-made company, American-owned, American business, and suddenly, because they're doing business elsewhere, and what they posted here in the United States for the United States now becomes a crime. So, folks, this is getting to be really, really crazy. But the best here is yet to come. These are just some of the little tidbits. Today, on the 3rd of September, 80 years ago, it's the anniversary of the end of World War II for China, North Korea, and Russia. And Xi had a big celebration in Beijing with all the glitter, the pomp and circumstance, and the troops to show his military power and might and his ability to still hold on to power.
Striking images coming out of China as we watch President Xi Jinping flexing his nation's muscles with a large-scale military parade and cozying up to the likes of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and Russian President Vladimir Putin. This day officially marks the 80th anniversary of China's victory over Japan, and President Trump says he's taking notice of what's going on. He posted this statement to Truth Social, which reads in part, quote, "The big question to be answered is whether or not President Xi of China will mention the massive amount of support and blood that the United States of America gave to China in order to help it to secure its freedom from a very unfriendly foreign invader." Going on to say, "Please give my warmest regards to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un as you conspire against the United States of America." What we have watched in recent days is these world leaders coalescing, aligning their interests, which they have explicitly said is to counter Western and American influence on the international stage. But keep in mind, North Korea has provided assistance to Russia here in the war in Ukraine, sending them troops to help repel Ukrainian advances in the Kursk region of Russia, with the Russian leader thanking his ally for that assistance.
At your initiative, as is well known, your special forces participated in the liberation of the Kursk region. I would like to note that we will never forget the sacrifices that your armed forces and the families of your servicemen have suffered.
The Ukrainians don't like any of the images they're seeing, and they believe that added pressure will be needed, whether it's economic sanctions or tariffs, in order to drive Russia to the negotiating table here in Ukraine. To this point, the Kremlin not committing to any bilateral talks with the Ukrainians, or at this juncture, any formal sit-downs in a trilateral setting. In Kyiv, Robert Sherman, News Nation.
Let me play you this clip of the actual parade and everything. I mean, the stuff here is absolutely unbelievable. Here we go.
If coordination, precision, and pageantry are what wins wars, then there's no question that China is one of the world's most formidable forces. There was not a step out of place or an exaggerated turn of the head off cue in this biggest of Beijing's military parades. But just as captivating for the audience in Tiananmen Square was seeing the historic union of Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin, and Kim Jong-un. This was the first time the Russian president and North Korean leader have appeared together with Xi, and it looked like they couldn't be happier in one another's company. A defining image of the ages, one of defiance and deliberate timing from the Chinese president. In his speech to mark the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II, Xi spoke of a new era and a China that cannot be intimidated.
中华民族伟大复兴势不可挡，人类和平与发展的崇高事业必将胜利。
It is little wonder that President Trump had a barbed message for Xi Jinping, accusing the Chinese leader of conspiring against him with Putin and Kim. Perhaps the American president had also been briefed that among the array of new weapons on display was a missile known as the Guam Killer. The DF-26 has a range of 4,000 kilometers, putting the key US base in the Pacific within range. Alongside the latest missiles, there was a showcase of cutting-edge hardware, unmanned boats, a fleet of scary-looking drones, and this cute but deadly platoon of mini tanks.
All right. I had to stop it when she said a platoon, cute platoon of mini tanks. Lady, these are weapons of war. They're not cute. You may think they're cute, but obviously you could tell from the person that was doing the audio is obviously a China Z lover, CCP lover. Anyway, what she did not catch is what was said on a hot mic. And what was done during that hot mic is absolutely mind-blowing. We've done several shows on the Falun Gong and organ harvesting. And now you have Z with Putin and Kim, and they are now talking to each other, and a hot mic catches them. Let me play you this clip, and it'll put a lot of things into perspective. And there's a lot of information in here, as in relationships of the Kremlin to organ harvesting and other biological research in extending human life, either artificially or by organ harvesting, which is really very scary. There have been stories and leaked whistleblowers that have been coming out of China describing what happens with the organ harvesting. They will have, while the person's still alive, they will take the corneas, they will take the kidneys, the heart, the liver, whatever it is they need, and to hide the evidence, they then burn the bodies. So here, this is where they're talking about extending the life of leaders. And if we have enough time, I'll get into the last couple of minutes of this, but it's going to be very close.
In an unexpected and somewhat eyebrow-raising moment, a hot mic has captured the leaders of two authoritarian regimes, Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping, pondering the intriguing connection between organ transplants and the quest for immortality. This curious exchange happened during a military parade in Beijing, where both leaders were present to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. While strolling at the forefront of a group of foreign dignitaries, live state media footage inadvertently recorded their conversation. As they approached a platform in Tiananmen Square, Putin's interpreter relayed in Chinese that biotechnology is continuously developing. Following some inaudible chatter, the interpreter continued, stating, "Human organs can be continuously transplanted. The longer you live, the younger you become, can even achieve immortality." This intriguing notion undoubtedly captures the imagination. Off camera.
All right. She goes on and on to say that there are already evidence that organ harvesting has extended the life of many leaders in China already. On top of which, you add in that Xi eliminated the presidential term limits, effectively enabling himself to maintain control indefinitely. So he's president for life in China. And Putin has done similar legislation in order to remain in office himself. And Putin directed the creation of a research institute named the New Health Preservation Technologies. Now, Mikhail Kovalchuk, a close confidant of Putin, is at the helm of the Russian research at this facility in their quest for immortality. And now Putin's eldest daughter, Maria Veronova, is a specialist in endocrinology and has received extensive Russian government funding amounting to millions to do her research. there was a Chinese leader at the age of 87 that passed away. And when they talked about it, they said that his organs had been, transplanted multiple times. That his voice was booming and sounded youthful. But to keep him alive, they kept on transplanting new organs into him. And who knows where these organs came from? From the Falun Gong, from the Uyghurs, from the Hong Kong protesters, from other dissidents within China. Now add in to the fact that the ex-Hong Kong chief threatens the Falun Gong practitioners. Now, not in China anymore. They're spread throughout the world. They're here in the United States. They're in Finland. They're all over the place. And the Chinese Communist Party said the Falun Gong, they can't exist. They can't exist peacefully with the Chinese Communist Party. They can't allow it because they know too much. You must destroy them. And you see that actively here in the United States, where they have their dance troupe that does their performances throughout the United States. And constantly the Chinese Communist Party sets up protests in there, does things to inhibit their ability to perform. I mean, this is ongoing. And you see these three powerful leaders meeting in Beijing with a show of military power and strength in the new equipment they have come up with. And then the three of them getting together to say, we're going to rule for life. Now, we're limited to 2 terms in the office of the presidency. And that's it. But they're saying, no, we're going to be dictators for life. And folks, this is what's going on today. This is going on here and now. And it's something I think we need to keep an eye out for. This legislation in our Congress to prevent and sanction organ harvesting throughout the world. Also to preserve the Falun Gong, because they are the main targets, the Uyghurs and the Falun Gong. So contact your congressmen, contact your senators. It's already passed in the House, the 2 acts for organ harvesting and the Falun Gong. Get it from the House into the Senate and get your senator to pass this legislation and save lives and preserve our way of life here in the West, our Judeo-Christian faiths and beliefs that we have here today. So we're going to be going on to another segment. And until then, I will say good night. I'll be back in a short bit. And I want to welcome onto the show an old friend of ours. He's been working with me, good Lord, more than a decade. I've been on air now 15 years. So I want to welcome to the show AJ Rice. He is the CEO of Publis Public Relations, and he is the man in the know in the conservative neighborhood. He's handled top names such as Judge Jeanine Pirro, Peter Navarro, Donald Trump, you can name it. He's had his hand on that person. So welcome aboard, AJ.
Great to be here, Annie, really. You're a law enforcement gal. You must be excited about what you're seeing from coast to coast. The actual laws on the books are finally being enforced. Imagine that. Imagine that. All these different Republicans that have come along, different Democrats, I guess you could kind of say, well, they're not going to enforce the law, but Republicans weren't either. And, going back to, who knows, Eisenhower. And the reality is that there's a new sheriff in town. It's not AJ Rice. It's Donald John Trump. And he's not playing around. And it's beautiful to see all my clients on TV all day long that are making some of this law enforcement happen.
No, I get a kick out of it because you said watching your clients. I can turn around and walk past the TV. Goes, I interviewed that person. No, yes, I interviewed that person. Little old me, a little tiny podcaster out of the middle of nowhere. But I want to thank you for all the fans that have been coming to this show. Some of them for the entire 15 years I've been on air. And I want to thank you for sending these great people to me. You got a good book that just came out just last year. I can't believe it's now been a year.
Yeah.
It's called
the White Privilege album. The White Privilege album came out in September. The Walking Dead came out in 2022. And next year, now that I won't be living in the gulag, because we won this election last year. Volume 3 will be coming out. So I'll make sure we get you some copies of that. We'll have a little fun with that. Heads will explode, which is which is my purpose. Look, my job, my day job, is to run Publius PR, which is, fairly well-known conservative PR firm. We handle, like I said a minute ago, a lot of the people that are in the Trump White House, but many, many others too, and even fiction authors and people with memoirs, sports people, religious people, and not just books. We handle a lot of conservative groups, True the Vote, Gun Owners of America, CO2 Coalition, I could go on and on, Federalist Society. But, in the midst of all of that, and I must want, to die early, or I should have my brain examined, I do my own books. Because I always want, I wanted to know the pain that I'm putting all my clients through. I wanted to feel myself. Because I am Irish Catholic, so I'm a masochist at birth. Volume 1 and 2 were both Amazon bestsellers, and Volume 3 will be out next year.
Well, I got to tell you, just to make you feel even worse, I was born Italian Roman Catholic. Can't get any more Roman Catholic than that. But
that's right.
yeah.
You guys are having way more fun. Break open a leg, you got a little marinara sauce comes out. Not here. You break open my leg, you get mashed potatoes and whiskey. So it's a different mindset. It's a totally different mindset from the Irish to the Italians, but we complement each other. I mean, most of Philadelphia has a little bit of both in there. I like to say that the Irish, I guess it depends on whether you're talking male or female, but the Irish act as the cooling saucer to the Italians. Okay? We're the cooling saucer. Right?
But we gave you St. Patrick, though. We gave you St. Patrick.
Well, that's still being disputed, but sure. He was Roman, that's for sure.
Well, we were talking about public safety, and I was watching over on Newsmax. Was it Newsmax or Fox? I forget now. No, it was Newsmax. They had Kaz Doherty. He's the New York City Deputy Mayor of Public Safety. And I was listening to him, and I actually wanted to throttle him through the TV because he's saying how great New York City is in the downing of crime in the city. And then yet they are losing 300 cops a month. Now, he was saying that cops retire at 20 years. Yeah. But what he's not telling you is if they are vested with 10 years in, they can leave. They can leave the department, do other work, and then when they hit their 20th anniversary that they would have had in New York City, they get their pension.
Really?
They get the pension at the salary they left at the 10-year anniversary. So these guys, they're in 10 years, insane. And they say, hey, wait a minute, I've already got my New York City pension. I'm going to leave. I'm going to go to the city and work where someone would appreciate the job I'm doing. And this is the problem. They're bleeding cops. They're short thousands of officers. And this guy is making it sound like New York City is rosy.
You can leave it 10 years, and then you got a phantom presence, get paid for your phantom presence, and then get a 20-year pension. That's unbelievable. That's wild.
No, they don't get paid those 10 years they're out.
No, I know that, but they get a pension as if their presence was there for 20.
Yeah, because they have 10 years vested in. And that's in our contract. That's good for us. But he's using these numbers to fudge it. And that's the whole thing. You see these talking heads coming out of these government offices and Deputy Mayor of Public Safety. I didn't know there's more than one mayor in the city of New York. But imagine now what it would be with Mondami in charge. This is under Eric Adams. I want to get you started on Mondami. Go ahead. Give me Mondami.
Well, look, Slumdog Millionaire, he grew up fancy. He grew up fancy. He's a fancy kid, got fancy parents. He's claiming to be an African American. Although I think he's probably less of an African American than Elon Musk is. And look, this is the culmination of where the Democrat Party has been headed. Most of us that follow this saw this coming. The Democrats have been doing everything in their power, even when Obama showed up, they did, to keep this wing, which is now more than a wing, it's most of the building, of the Democrat Party from taking power. This is their voters. This is their base. Guys like Rahm Emanuel, guys like James Carville, Bill Maher, Fetterman, they are horrified.
Jasmine Crockett.
Those guys are horrified to meet their base. They're leaving the tower and they're going to meet their base. This is why the Democrats have not had a real primary. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to walk you through it. They've not had a real primary since 2008. Not a competitive one. And that was when Obama took on John Edwards and Hillary Clinton. And Bill Clinton was having a nice laugh with Ted Kennedy, the great savior of women. And they were discussing, who is this guy, Barack Hussein Obama? He should be getting us coffee. Should be shining our shoes. And yet he wins. And then he wins again in 2012. So there's no primary then. And then in 2016, old peanut butter mouth, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who's got Peter Pan on one side of the inside of her mouth when she talks and Jif on the other. She's the head of the DNC. And they looked out and they saw their voters coming in the form of Bernie Sanders. And they did everything they could to stop their voters. We know this because Donna Brazile, got the best hair in the business, she told us what they did in her book. So Bernie's coming. Take the whistle out. Call in the superdelegates to make sure at the convention there wasn't going to be a floor fight, that Bernie's delegates would not have any power. The Democrat donor class, known as the superdelegates, basically kept Bernie Sanders out of the platform, off the ticket, and out of the room. So they rigged it. They rigged 16, and obviously Hillary then lost to Trump. Now, 2020, oh no, he's back. Stalin's grandson is back, and he's winning again. Except this time, Mayor Pete's winning. Him and his on his bicycle with his husband in Iowa, and then you've got New Hampshire happening. They huddle again. The elites huddle again, and someone calls a meeting before South Carolina. Jim Clyburn gets involved. Now Kamala was out of the race already. She didn't even make it to 2020. Yeah, she was on the trash heap already from late 2019. So Bernie's winning. Bernie's coming. Mayor Pete's got a little bit of juice. I'm not gonna horrify the audience on what kind of juice. He's got a little juice, and someone says, "Everyone get out of the race." So there goes Crazy Eyes Cory Booker. There goes Klobuchar. There goes Pocahontas. They all get out of the race to clear the table for the vegetable. So the vegetable wins. The vegetable wins South Carolina with the help of the Lance King of Clyburn.
Just so some of our listeners may not understand who the vegetable is.
Joe Biden's the vegetable. The reanimated corpse. Okay? The meat puppet. So he wins South Carolina. They put him in a basement. He doesn't have to do anything else. We'll handle it. Everyone's gone. Bernie has got a little less juice than he did the first time. Everyone kind of gets in line. Remember, Bloomberg jumped in there for a second and then jumped out. Everyone backs the vegetable. The vegetable gets parked in the basement. And the vegetable, apparently, according to Wikipedia, not according to these lying eyes, but according to Wikipedia, which we know is never wrong, the vegetable won in 2020. So there you got superdelegate rigging against Bernie with Hillary, and then you got everyone pushed out of the race, and the vegetable hooked up to extension cords in his basement in Delaware, and the vegetable wins. Fast forward 2024, the vegetable goes on stage. Donald Trump gives him a haircut, totally demolishes him in the race, in the debate. 100 days, Kamala becomes the nominee. She never won a primary in her life. Somehow is able to raise $1.3 billion and blow it all. They were lighting that shit on fire, Annie. They were lighting it on fire. Yeah? They were sticking her face in that dome in Las Vegas. You know, that was $450,000 a day to stick her face in that dome. Can you imagine trying to land a plane and looking out at that face? Right? The plane would be skidding into the desert looking at that face.
Crashing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Crash and burn.
Can you imagine trying to land your plane in Las Vegas? Oh, look, there's the plaza, the beautiful fountains, oh, the Luxor, you got the pyramid. Oh, my God, look at that face. Look at that face. Anyway, so she's then the nominee, and she gets her clock cleaned. So as you can see, Democrats haven't had a real primary. Now, comedian Andrew Schultz, who's a politically incorrect guy. I don't think he's necessarily a right-wing guy, you know, but he's part of the manosphere and the bro podcast group, you know, with Tim Dillon and Rogan and Shane Gillis and Theo Vaughn and the rest of them. He confronted Bernie Sanders about this recently. And Bernie said, no, I agree with you. Because it basically screwed him out because he's their real voters. I know we want to think that, you know, Fetterman is or there's some kind of, you know, there's some machine out there and it's shooting out a bunch of Joe Liebermans and Evan Bayes and so on. There isn't. There isn't. The Democrat Party are AOC.
Yeah.
The Democrat Party is Pocahontas and Bernie.
Yeah.
The Democrat Party is my girlfriend, Jasmine Crockett. My girlfriend. Don't tell my wife, but she is my girlfriend. She doesn't know it, although I've been on enough shows saying it, including Fox News, so she might know now. You know, she's all pissed off about Trump's China tariffs because, you know, she can't get those eyelashes in from China. So she's running short on those fake eyelashes. So what she does is she gets a pair of scissors. She goes down to NTB, National Tire and Battery, buys a couple tires.
Shreds them. Gets new eyelashes.
Yeah. A couple Michelins, couple Contis, you know, a couple, all-season pro tires, and she slaps them on her face. So look, that's their party. And they're going to have a hard time here. Because, you know, Mamdani is their party. It's not Fetterman. Now, there are some sane people over there that realize they're screwed, like Bill Maher. He realizes it because it's globalism, it's wokeism, it's identity politics, it's the trans mafia, it's cancel culture. And the Democrat Party doesn't know what to do, doesn't know how to moderate when they're losing. On the culture front, I mean, Stephen Colbert has been fired for the same reason Kamala didn't win.
The party is not following them. They lost 4.5 million voters. And between 2020 and 2024, it's the first time they lost that many voters since 2018. Now, of the 30 states that track voter registration, that 4-year swing, it was 2.3 million that they counted. But in the other red states, we're red. Are we red or blue? I forget now.
We're red.
Red states.
Red states, but they're red communists. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So it's 2.4 in the 30 states that track voters, but in the states that didn't, all they did was count the ballots, the people that did vote Republican over Democrat. It was another 2.1 million, coming up to a total of 4.5 million.
I just took your audience down memory lane here to show them that the Democrats are shot. They haven't had a real primary because they were perfectly happy just passing the presidency back and forth between a bunch of families, the Bushes and the Clintons, and obviously Obama stopped that. Trump really stopped it. But you have to understand something. Let me take you now into the multiverse of possible scenarios that could have happened. RFK Jr. is our client here. We represent Maha Action. We've represented him in his books. We represented his super PAC, which was AV24. We represent a lot of the doctors, Corey and Malone and, Ed Dowd and Shaz Khan and a bunch of others that are part of the Bobby Brigade. But imagine an alternative universe where, because here's the thing, you're talking about why the Democrats are bleeding Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan and Tulsi Gabbard both voted for Bernie Sanders in 2016. America. So they lost them. So what did you do? How did you screw up?
They go even further left.
How did you blow it? The way Bobby D said in Copland. How did you do that? Because you lost all of that. You lost Naomi Wolf. You lost Elon Musk. You lost Rogan. You lost Tulsi. And of course, you lost the oldest male heir of the most famous Democrat family in the last 100 years, and that is RFK Jr. How did you so I just showed you all the different rigging, right? 16, 20, 20, 24. Here's another little nugget. And this could have been 6% of the vote, because that's all it took to swing undecideds. Imagine a universe where the Democrats aren't filing lawsuits to keep RFK Jr. off the ballot as a Democrat. Imagine where they let him debate Biden months before Trump takes him out. And you see that he's a vegetable, because Bobby would have made him look like a vegetable too. You have a totally different scenario. Biden goes down even earlier. RFK Jr. is on the ballot. There's a real primary. But they rigged it so that Bobby couldn't get on the Democrat ballot. He couldn't get any debates. He couldn't get any type of action from them. So he became an independent and eventually endorsed Donald Trump. And now is a cabinet secretary doing push-up contests with my other client, Pete Hegseth. That's what he's doing. Now, they blew it. So imagine all of those RFK Jr. people, which is this sort of weird, potpourri of Ross Perot people and Ron Paul people and some Bernie people. And, it's a totally different, some Nader people. It's a totally different group of people. Some Buchananites, dare I say. So they lost then.
Yeah.
So, I'm talking everyone from like Woody Harrelson to Joe Rogan. I mean, there's once Bobby endorsed Trump, that brought a whole different group of people that had never voted Republican before.
Well, I'll tell you this, it's even so to the point where the Democratic Party has gone so far left that you have those that are waffling going towards independent. The Democratic Party has already split itself. Yet on the other side, Elon Musk threatened to make the new party, the All-American Party, which he started. He's now backed off on that.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. He was just off his medication. He was off his medication. Yeah, he was off his medication. He'll be back. He's
so the Republican Party's not split. The Democratic Party is split. So when it comes 2028, which RFK already said he's not running, it is a Republican seat if we don't give it away.
Sure. I mean, look, RFK Jr. could end up being somebody's running mate. I mean, we don't know. You have Rubio in the mix. You have obviously Vance. I mean, I think the MAGA coalition will accept any combo of any of them, and Don Jr., of course, who has said that he's looked at it, and we are friends with with him. We've been on his show. We've been his publicist for his 2 books and worked with his publishing house, Winning Team Publishing. So we've put some of those authors on this show as well, including Judge Jeanine and Carrie Lake and MTG and Charlie Kirk and Peter Navarro and so on. So look, we are beating them. Here's the thing. The Democrats will always double down on crazy. They're not out looking for the next Bill Clinton, right? They're out looking for more Mamdanis because that's where their base is. That's where they're, I mean, look, Rahm Emanuel went on some podcast with some super uptight, got hit with a bag of nickels, left-wing female podcaster, and she was scolding him for saying maybe we should care more about schools and less about schools' bathrooms. And she went nuts. That's their party. I mean, look, for all the talk about what Trump has done in the first 6 months, first 100 days, first 200 days, let's look at what the Democrats have shown us, right? What have they shown us? They lifted up their skirt and, whoa, 73 genders under there. Well, what else is under there? The burning of Teslas, the turning around of planes filled with MS-13, the assassination of healthcare executives on the streets of New York, the hunting of Jews on Columbia's campus, right? Sending men dressed as women into Nancy Mace's bathroom. They've defended the IRS. They've defended USAID. So this is who they have shown us they are, and they've shown us their new spokespeople. Obviously, still Bernie, leading the youth movement, Bernie Sanders, and obviously the Latin bartender AOC, and of course my girlfriend Jasmine. So this is and Mamdani. This is the face of their party. And I'd say, with the midterms on the horizon, as a marketing guy, I say keep it up. Keep it up. I love it. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't try to find the next Bill Clinton. Keep doing what you're doing. Double down on Jazzy Jasmine and AOC and the squad. Keep up the Jew hate. Keep up the, being mad that blacks aren't being killed anymore in Washington, D.C. because the National Guard's there. Keep it up. Keep trying to bring MS-13 and Tren de Aragua back so they can go to a cul-de-sac near you.
Yeah.
Keep it up. I love it. It's a great strategy to lose forever.
What they're also doing is becoming very anti-Semitic. And the Jewish population traditionally votes Democrat. They're losing an entire segment of the population with Mamdani and with other anti-Semitic. In Paterson, New Jersey, they're protesting the mayor because an Israeli PAC flew her over there. And now all of a sudden, CARE has now risen its ugly head, and is participating in this protest. I mean, Israel is an ally, but yet a whole segment. It's okay. You can't say anything racial about Black, Native American, but it's okay to hate the Jew.
Well, the Jews finally became white. They are a colonial power. They see Israel as a colonial power. The last group of white people to become white were the Italians. Now, I tell people all the time, the largest mass lynching in American history wasn't of blacks. It was of Italians about 120 years ago in Louisiana. And, the Italian immigrants here went nuts. And the country of Italy got involved. The mafia was formed in a way because of this. Columbus Day was created by the federal government as a kind of a bone that they threw to the Italians because they had a large upper Northeast, anywhere there was Catholics, and, New Orleans, a Catholic place because of the French were there. People forget our history. And, the Jews are now considered this Israeli Mossad colonial power that is stealing all the land from all the poor helpless Bedouin sheep herders. That's the way it's framed. When in reality, Israel is the canary in the mine shaft for Western civilization. Look, Western civilization sits on 4 legs of the stool, right? Judeo-Christian, Greco-Roman. That's what we are. And I'm sorry, but not all civilizations are created equal, which is why some of them fail, right? Which is why Mamdani wants to run for mayor in New York City and not in some S-hole in Uganda.
No, and what Mandami is going to have higher political views. He's going to go for governor, and from governor, he's going to run for president.
Well, he can't be president. He wasn't born in the United States.
Oh, true story. But he will go for governor of New York.
Sure. He can try that. And look, here's the thing. He could be someone that helps Elise Stefanik win the governor's race. His presence as mayor could help with that. And that's the thing, is that the Democrat Party have become angrier. They've become more radical. They've shed some of the unique characters like Elon and RFK Jr. that were part of their coalition for years. They've lost even some Hollywood people. They've lost a lot of stand-up comics and podcasters because of wokeism and because of political correctness and because of the trans mafia and because of the Jew hate. I mean, look, whether or not J.D. Vance can recreate what happened remains to be seen. But I will tell you, Donald Trump's Republican Party became more working class, became more multi-ethnic, because it wasn't just the Jews in the suburbs of Philadelphia that voted for Trump.
Young black men. Young black men between 18 and 30.
I mean, how did he also win Dearborn, Michigan? He won the Muslims in Michigan. He won the Jews in Pennsylvania. Paging Josh Shapiro. The Democrats didn't put Shapiro on the ticket because of how anti-Semitic they had become. Right? They lost a bunch of, they looked like they were, playing footsie with Hamas last November. So look, you have African-American males in Clark County, Nevada, in Atlanta, in Philly, in Pittsburgh, in Detroit. They all moved towards Trump. African Americans moving towards Trump. Jews moving towards Trump. Muslims, dare I say, moved towards Trump. And then, of course, the second blue wall. Now, what is that? The second blue wall runs along the Texas-Mexican border. And that blue wall came down. These are counties, 100% almost Catholic and Latin, that all flipped from blue to red. And they flipped from blue to red because of the Democrats' immigration policies. So Hispanics have moved towards Trump as well. Look at a map of California county by county. Newsom's going to try to redistrict California. He better look at what happened county by county from 2020 to 2024, because I think it was like 80% plus Latin American Catholic Catholic counties in California, just like the Texas border situation, flipped from the Democrats to the Republicans. See, the Democrats have made a fatal flaw. They always were worried that African Americans would escape the plantation a second time that they put them on. This time meant a mental one. First time was a physical one. They were always worried that they needed to replace the black vote with someone. Enter the brown vote. Their idea, I guess, was that they would replace African-American voters in the Democrat Party with millions of people that never get divorced and never have abortions and say the rosary twice a day. Good luck with that.
Well, we stopped
if Newsom's not careful,
Well, we're running out of time here, AJ. We're having so much fun.
If Newsom's not careful, California will be redistricted, and there will be even more Republican seats, not less. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's so much more to talk about, and we stopped the alien invasion. We're lowering crime nationwide, and we are turning the nation more red than blue, and we will be gaining seats in the midterm election. There's no doubt about that. But AJ, people can also find you up on Substack, where you also have the Publius National Post, which I subscribe to, and your book, The White Privilege Album, people can find up on Amazon. You know, I love talking with you. And like I said, it's been more than a decade we have been friends and worked together. Right. And you have helped this podcast very much. And I sent you a few people too.
That's right. That's right, girl. We love you here. You know, we wish you good health and, you know, keep fighting down there in the Carolinas, right? Keep fighting.
Absolutely. And I still run a Tea Party down here also, as well as being involved in my county GOP. But you had mentioned the CO2 Coalition, and I think I may have told you that once before. That
awesome.
So, AJ,
I love it.
Thank you so very much. God bless.
I'm praying for this land I love, America, America, the home of the free. But there are people making plans to change America. They've no respect for her or what matters most to me. That's why I stand for the flag and I kneel at the cross. Long for the friends I have loved and lost. And I still believe in God we trust, and the freedom our forefathers granted us. I hope it's not too late to save America. Do you hear our battle cry across America? We've got to rescue her. You know it's up to me and you to see the truth behind their lies. Don't change America. God bless America and the red, white, and blue. That's why I stand for the flag and I kneel at the cross. Long for the friends I have loved and lost. And I still believe in God we trust, and the freedom our forefathers granted us. I hope it's not too late to save America. For the friends we have loved and lost, and we still believe in God we trust, in the freedom our forefathers granted us. We know it's not too late to save America. Save America. Let's save America. Together we can save